Okay, hello movie crap people. You're not movie crap. Am I on? Anyway, are we here? I think I am. I think I'm live. Anyway, yes, it's going to be a big movie crap today. There's going to be a lot of movie news going on. All right, you guys can see me. I can see you. Let's tweet this out. Movie crap is live right now. Sorry. Second stream. We're doing okay, I guess. Yes. Okay. Twitter. All right. Letting the people know. Everybody's here. Okay. So, this is going to be a big movie crap because there's lots of movie news. I'm hoping everyone can hear me. Pan had a stream? Didn't know that. Probably, yeah. Anyway, I just left Pan's stream for this. Probably someone will say. Okay, Movie Crap Live is there. There's people in the chat. We are doing this. So, we are streaming, and the video looks better this time. And yes. So, D23 was this week, and D23 was crazy, and there's been a crazy amount of movie news happening today. Like, too many movie news things. It's kind of a little intimidating to try to cover all this in one movie. Sorry if audio sync seems off. Is it really off? I hope it's not too off. I'm conflicted, Jim Erneska. I understand. All right, so there's going to be a lot of movie news this week because there's just too much of it. But we're going to try to go through it all, especially D23 first, then Spider-Man Disney Sony drama, all the other things. There's a lot of stuff. Viewer questions will be at the end. If you want to ask a question for anything that is while I'm talking about it, you can. There's a lot, so if I don't get to it, I apologize. Let me move my little table, and I didn't drop the mic. Super chats are appreciated. If you're a patron to my Patreon, and you donate $5 or more a month, then your question will definitely get on. So there's a couple of those this week. Anyway, here we go. Let's go to the first bit of movie news, and it's probably the first bit of news for movie crap, and that is Disney Plus debuts on November 12th. That is a Tuesday. Why is that kind of we always knew it was going to be November. It was kind of like, when is the date? And I think it's a good date. November is a good date in general, and it's mainly so that you can talk about it with your family during Thanksgiving. And you might think, I tweeted about that, you might think that's a bit of a joke, but that's usually when people's opinions who you trust are there. And there's been huge shifts, huge cultural kind of shifts. The Facebook and MySpace battle, when they were kind of neck and neck, that changed over the holiday season because kids would be like, oh, MySpace is lame, don't do MySpace anymore, go to Facebook, and cousins and so forth. So Disney Plus being there is a smart move, and it's a move a lot of tech companies like to do because they know, like, you'll listen to your brother and your uncle and your cousin, and if they say, hey, Disney Plus is pretty cool, or if, your mom and dad are having a bunch of people over, or a bunch of kids over, and they're like, oh, well, should we buy a bunch of DVDs, or maybe, like, let's just get Disney Plus, and then they see The Mandalorian, and they're like, we'll just keep it around. It's actually a really smart date. So that was kind of, let me start things off with that. Second, Black Panther 2 comes out May 6, 2022. That's cool. It's the first big, it's like kind of the summer kickoff date, I guess, sort of, even though summer movies never stop now, but it still is kind of a big date. But I sort of, oh man, lots of the Twitter there. I should get rid of you, phone. All right. Sorry. It's a good date. I kind of, I kind of don't like when movies that start in February and start in a non-summer release date come to summer, because it feels like you should stay in that date because that's what made it exciting. I kind of wish it had come out in February, but they chose not to do that. Ryan Coogler's returning. He's directing some movie about a test cheating scandal in a high school with Michael B. Jordan before that. I don't know when that's coming out, but they released that news. So in 3 years, Black Panther 2, and they're going with the numbers, not with Black Panther Wakanda, or I kept thinking of Wakanda Nights, which is a detective show I totally should pitch to Disney or something. All right, so I think the news you probably care about the most, knowing that we're all into animation and everything like that, is Soul. Soul, the new Pete Docter movie. And this is a crazy, I think is a crazy amount of info on this one. And it's because we knew nothing until sort of recently that there was going to be a movie called Soul. And we knew Pete Docter, kind of, who is the chief creative officer at Pixar. Jennifer Lee runs Disney Animation. He runs Pixar, unlike the Lasseter kind of dictatorship we had before. So both are kind of announcing their new movies at D23. And Soul we knew nothing about. And I like Pete Docter movies because it's sort of like... I don't think, someone just said, will Michael B. Jordan return to Black Panther 2? I hope not. And I don't know if, I'm happy they're making, should they make a Ted 3? I took that as a Bill and Ted 3. I don't know if they'll make a Ted 3, but that's a different thing. Probably not, after Ted 2's success. But with Soul, I think not the problem with Soul. With Pete Docter, what I always find interesting about him as a director is Brad Bird, Andrew Stanton, all the major Pixar directors left, and they did other stuff, basically. And I think Pete Docter stuff is basically like if those dream Pixar directors stayed at Pixar and kept developing. And he's like kind of on a different wavelength. He has a much better director career than like all those other guys had, like, you know, a slump and fell off and had to kind of return into a sequel. And Pete Docter doesn't have to do that because he stayed and made like Up and Inside Out. I'm really interested in Soul. So basically what it's about, apparently it's about we discover it's a middle school band teacher who dreams of joining a jazz band, who is voiced by Jamie Foxx. And then apparently he like falls down a manhole cover and goes into a mysterious realm and becomes like a soul or something like that. The other voice cast is Questlove, Felicia Rashad. I don't know why I had problems with that one. Daveed Diggs and Tina Fey, largely black cast. The music is done by John Bautista, who is Stephen Colbert's band leader, and Atticus Ross and Trent Reznor. Not joking. Seriously, that's crazy. Trent Reznor doing a Pixar film. He says he's excited by this, Pete Docter, and the fact that he's kind of running on like he's won 2 Best Animated Feature Oscars. He's probably going to it's going to be smooth sailing for him from now on. And I'm really curious about this movie. It sounds really, really interesting. It's probably my favorite news from this. Oh, Manhole Comer. Did I say that? That's embarrassing. All right. Next bit of news, Onward. And it's interesting to think also from this Disney D23 movie presentation. First off, they didn't have any trailers. The Disney Plus stuff, they really pushed. The Disney movie stuff, they didn't as much, which shows you where the company's going. But also, it's interesting that a lot of the movie stuff for 2020 is original kind of properties. Especially Pixar has 2 original movies next year. That's really crazy and really ambitious and cool, actually. I'm kind of glad. Pete Docter has already been taking the reins, and I'm already sort of liking the company a lot more. Kind of stale 2010s, I think, was probably because of Lasseter kind of losing his touch. I know he was sort of a touch. Oh, I shouldn't make those puns with Lasseter, but sorry, that's embarrassing. But I think Lasseter kind of was holding the studio back. He got it working, but I don't think he knew where to take it to the next level, regardless of allegations. Like no one was really liking where Pixar has been this past decade, and I feel happier about this. I'm not super excited for Onward, but yeah, there was no trailer for Onward or anything. There was footage. Apparently they try to bring back it's Chris Pratt and Tom Holland, and they're trying to bring back their dad, and they always bring back the bottom half and you see him walking around and stuff. So cool, I guess. I don't know. There was apparently Tom Holland sang a song and cried because of that whole thing, which we'll get to, guys. Don't worry. Okay, so the next thing is the Disney... Sorry, I went too far on my document. I do have like a... It's not a script, but it's just like, here are things and info that you should know, Jim. So Raya and the Last Dragon. It's about a teen Raya, played by Cassie Steele, who's done voices for Rick and Morty, or most famous as Manny from Degrassi, The Next Generation, of course, who discovers the last dragon left on Earth as a protector against evil forces. The last dragon will be played by Awkwafina. That sounds like a cool cast, and I'm excited for that one because it's a different kind of original thing, and I like Awkwafina. I recently saw The Farewell. She was really good in that. I usually like her, and that sounds like a cool thing from the little art and stuff that's been released, which isn't very much at all. But I am also happy, like, again, original property. That's cool. I like that from Disney. Then we'll get into the stuff I don't like, of course. Frozen 2, which is my daughter's most anticipated movie. I thought we were going to get a new trailer today. We didn't. We didn't get any trailers from any of this movie stuff. So this is why I'm kind of like going through it quickly, because it's like, here's some info or whatever. It's supposed to, people are saying it's trippier. It sounds like they're going to get into the Earth, Wind, Fire, Water, Captain Planet, Avatar: The Last Airbender type of thing. Neat, I guess. I don't really know. I do like the idea that we heard recently that it's going to follow like what How to Train Your Dragon did with the sequels, where it kind of matures as the kids get older. And if you know any little kids, Frozen is sort of, and I know a lot of you might disagree with this, it's sort of their Star Wars. When my daughter was at the supermarket recently, she wanted to just look at Frozen merchandise because it was there, and most little kids are like that, and I was a little kid like that about Star Wars or Spider-Man. So I think this younger generation Frozen will be like that Lion King type of property. So it's kind of cool. This is going to grow with them, like a Harry Potter, like a How to Train Your Dragon franchise, things like that. But the only thing we really got is that Evan Rachel Wood will be voicing the mother, who I don't think she voiced in the original. I kind of like when they try to be a little more consistent, but obviously they didn't know Frozen was going to be what it was, so forth. And Sterling K. Brown, who we've been wondering who he would voice in this exactly, and it was that weird English like hacker pig in Angry Birds 2, which was weird. That very weird, that voice, because you're like, that's Sterling K. Brown, but he plays a military ally. Don't know what that means. I love Sterling K. Brown as an actor, so I think it'll be cool. Someone asked, hold on, thoughts on Disney's Animal Farm. I'm assuming you're talking about, from Max Portisfield, I'm assuming you are talking about maybe the Andy Serkis Animal Farm, which I'd really like to happen at one point, but we've heard like literally no movement, except for that Netflix is apparently going to do it after his Jungle Book thing. So I hope that happens, actually. So apparently there was Mulan footage. The star of Mulan did not show up for D23, which, duh. Everyone seems to like it. They showed footage of her like dressing up as kind of a wife sort of thing. And she seemed to be... it seemed to be good. Everyone seems to like it. It looks like cool footage. I kind of almost want to do a video and research, because a lot of people told me Mulan, the original, didn't do well in China because of a situation with the release of Kunda and the Martin Scorsese film. So I want to look more into that, because I keep hearing that on podcasts, but I don't really know specifics, and maybe they're like over-emphasizing something or lying, but apparently it continues to look good. Cruella de Vil, or Cruella, was delayed, going from the kind of Christmas, Thanksgiving-y thing or whatever, and then going to sorry, that's nice, Disco Spider. Sorry, mentioning that, I don't know, Sophie's cute, I love her. Well, I'm her dad. So the Cruella movie was delayed, going from what was going to be a holiday season, which I thought kind of worked, because that's when the Glenn Close ones came out, as I remember, and it's being pushed to summer. They released a picture showing that this is a 1977 punk thing. I already commented about this on Twitter, but punks are usually against animal cruelty, which doesn't really work with Cruella de Vil. And I don't understand like why she has Dalmatians that are clearly working for her. Like, I don't really like that. It looks like something that's like, that looks like a cool picture. I think I saw Marley from Frederator comment that this would be a great fashion spread. Is that him? I forget who said that. Anyway, somebody said that, and I agree with that. It looked like a cool picture, but it doesn't look like a good movie. I don't even really remember who's directing that, but it just doesn't. And Emma Stone makes like bad choices. She's not good at making box office choices. She's good at like winning awards and stuff. That seems to be it. I don't know. Sorry. The Eternals continues to be like, look, we have this cast. Neat. And I'm like, okay. I don't like the Eternals thing. I'm always like, sure, but like, can we like get a little more here? It feels like Black Widow's at least has footage that you won't let me see. But apparently Kit Harington is going to be in that. He's not going to be Wolverine. I don't know why everyone thought that, since they're clearly not doing X-Men for a while. But that's cool, guys. And then Gemma Chan is not playing the character she played in Captain Marvel. She's playing a different character. I think that's fine, since she doesn't look like her character in Captain Marvel anyway, so that should be cool. And they showed them next to what they're going to look like, and that was a neat thing, I guess. I'm sort of not as into the Eternals. I kind of want to see a trailer first, because this isn't a comic series I'm very aware of. So, episode 9, and then we'll get into Disney Plus and a lot of TV or streaming stuff. Episode 9, there was a poster. I thought it looked like very Masters of the Universe-y and so forth. Apparently there was footage that hasn't leaked or anything like that. Apparently. Oh yes, I'm sorry, you were right, chat. He is going to be Black Knight, who is a character who is a cool character who they should have introduced earlier, and I do like that Black Knight character. And he's actually a good choice for Black Knight. I shouldn't have just gone off on my Wolverine rant. Black Knight's a cool character, and I actually think he's a good pick for that. Also, he knows swords and stuff, Game of Thrones. But so episode 9, the episode 9 poster came out, and they showed some footage. Apparently Rey has a double-sided lightsaber. She is more advanced in the Force, so this is sort of like a Return of the Jedi type thing. How predictable. And I'm sure it sounds cool. We know so little. I really think episode 9 hype needs a shot in the arm, and we need a cool trailer. And J.J. Abrams says he's working on it, and I'm like, cool, this movie is coming out really soon. You need to do something. I mean, it's still going to be big, but I wish there was something more. So Black Widow footage did play. I saw the 4 seconds or 5 seconds you could watch leaked. It looks like what a Black Widow movie would, or like a Bourne type movie kind of thing would. That's not really that interesting to me. I do kind of don't think the Marvel slate for 2020 is sort of a come down for me. I think Eternals has a lot to live up to, and Black Widow also, it's like Black Widow should have come out like 5 years ago. Like, I don't know why this came out now. It's just stupid. I don't really get what they're doing with Black Widow, frankly. It's just like, you should have gotten your ass in gear on this, and it's fine. I'm sure it'll be a cool movie, but it just seems like kind of a weird time to do it. I mean, this is why Lucy did well, so thanks for that, I guess. I don't really understand like what's going on there. All right, so let's get down to the Disney Plus stuff. Disney Plus. Okay. All right. So, sorry. This is like too many things. Second show, and I'm like inundated. I was like, damn, I hope if I miss something, please chat, just like put it in there a lot, because I'm trying to like keep up. And I'm sorry I'm like off to the side. Anyway. All right, so there's 3 Marvel shows that were announced. She-Hulk, Moon Knight, and Ms. Marvel. Ms. Marvel was the only one that was announced with a it was the only one that was announced with a showrunner, that being British writer Bishka K, who works on The Four Weddings and a Funeral show on Hulu that I have not watched, and my wife hasn't watched either, despite being British and watching those things. She-Hulk, my question with She-Hulk is, the Universal Hulk thing, are we cool with that being on streaming? I'm assuming so, since you released it. I don't know the terms of that deal exactly. Will Eric Bana be... not Eric Bana. That would be a cool cameo, though. Will Mark Ruffalo... That was an interesting screw-up. Will Mark Ruffalo be in it? I wonder. I'm curious about that. Moon Knight, I'm also curious about. I'm wondering why we've heard no casting, no creative team, or any of these, so I wouldn't expect them too soon, because there's nothing. I think Ms. Marvel will maybe be the first one out, but literally they just have one writer, so maybe they're farther along. They just don't want to announce those things at this point. Thank you, Caleb Craig, for that. All right, so WandaVision apparently is half like kind of 50s sitcom. half Marvel epic, and that sounds really confusing. But the little kid from Captain Marvel, will be grown up in it. Cool. Yeah, Loki also sounds like it will be a thing. That's sort of a thing, I guess. All right. I need a better setup. I keep looking over here. So, sorry, I need Red Bulls. It's late. It's been a crazy day. How are y'all doing? I will get to the Jim Henson stuff. Don't worry. There's a lot of things today. Also, Breaking Bad, like, Jesus. Movie stuff, just, like, chill. Next week, we're going to have nothing. All right, so, we did get some What If stuff. We already knew about the Peggy Carter would be Captain America thing. That's sort of old news. She's going to be Captain Carter. I think we knew that, too. But one of the What Ifs will be, what if Tony Stark was Star-Lord? That actually sounds interesting. I don't know if Robert Downey Jr. was coming back to do voices, so I hope they don't get a voice sounded like. If anyone in the chat does know that, I know they're getting a lot of the people I don't know. Robert Downey Jr. seems unlikely. So the Falcon and Winter Soldier show casted a U.S. agent. That's Wyatt Russell. That's the son of Kurt Russell and Goldie Hawn. He's a cool actor. I like him. He was in the Black Mirror show. He was in an AMC show nobody watched. But I think he'll be a good choice as a U.S. agent. So apparently in it, the government doesn't really want Falcon to be Captain America. They want a white Aryan dude to be Captain America. Read into that. And so there's that conflict. And that actually sounds interesting. I'm interested in the Falcon and Winter Soldier show. It sounds like more Falcon focused. I'm a little curious about what the Winter Soldier arc is, other than like, I'm fucked up and I have a metal arm. So that's like all of them. I haven't watched the High School Musical trailer with all the craziness today. I didn't get to, but the concept of they're making... It sounds like Waiting for Guffman. Everyone keeps saying The Office, but like learn some mockumentary history, guys. I mean, seriously. But so it's not about a series about High School the Musical. It's a series about kids putting on a Broadway production of High School the Musical at their high school. That sounds actually really interesting to me. I really love that concept. But it sounds like, to me, that's Waiting for Guffman, right? I mean, I didn't know there was leaked What If footage next animation. That's interesting. I'm going to try to find that. I didn't try to do that. There was like too many things. It's hard to keep up. So before we get into, there will be Spider-Man news, but there's going to be a Spidey. It's called Spidey and His Amazing Friends. It's going to be on Disney Junior. No mention if it is going to have anything to do with the 80s show Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends and have Iceman and, was it Firestorm or whatever? It's just going to have Spider-Gwen and Miles Morales and Peter Parker at the middle of it. Which looks fine. They just look like pop figures. I was kind of like, that's lame, you know. That is really lame in my mind. The Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur show is kind of looks cool. I think Disney's animation slate should have had a little bit more. Really, it seemed like they're really focused on streaming, and you didn't get too much. Although we did get the title of the Phineas and Ferb movie, which is Phineas and Ferb the movie, Candace Against the Universe. Apparently she is kidnapped and put on a planet that has no brothers on it, and it's like a utopia. I don't think anyone really has this info, and I want to preface this because I notice there's a couple of stories where like movie news people are putting two and two together, and I'm like, where's your source on this? They keep mentioning that there was an original Phineas and Ferb movie that was going to come out in 2013 and was canceled, and they keep acting like this was maybe the abandoned kind of scripts of that. I couldn't really find anything on that. If you guys know anything about that, please let me know. But to my understanding, this is a new thing for the streaming service. I didn't like the TV movies of Phineas and Ferb. I'm actually a Phineas and Ferb fan. But this sounds interesting, and I think Candace being in it, I think is a good thing. Oh, Titmouse is animating Moon Girl. That sounds incredibly interesting to me now. But I hope to see that. But I'm aware of the comic that Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur was based on, and it was a cool comic, as I recall. The Muppets short form show, which is going to be kind of unscripted with celebrities and Muppets interacting. A lot of people wondered how that would work with Muppets. Anyone saying that doesn't know the history of the Muppets, because the Muppets came up working on talk shows before they got the Muppet Show for like something like 15, 20 years, something like a while. And Jim Henson was very good at improvising as Ralph or Kermit or something like that. Like they appeared on talk shows with people who are like people and stuff. And I kind of think that this is a perfect form for Muppets, because that's how Muppets built. The Muppets built up through TV, through doing these cool appearances. Ralph the dog was actually more popular than the host of whatever show he was on. If Ryan Walterson is watching this, then I think he'll know. I think it's a really good idea to kind of bring back the Muppets. It sounds more YouTubey. A lot of people are bringing up the Jeffrey Katzenberg kind of short form video thing. I don't know why. I don't think the Katzenberg Disney thing is still alive currently. I think people are just making a bigger deal out of that than they need to. But it's going to be kind of more short form, which I think will be interesting. Now, let's do 2 Star Wars Disney Plus things at once. The Mandalorian trailer looks really great. I love that trailer more than I like the Rise of Skywalker trailer. I think it is an amazing, cool trailer. It looks really neat. Werner Herzog, I mean, I don't know why he's not directing an episode, but that's like on you guys, I guess. I mean, Disney, not you in the chat. Unless you in the chat stop that from happening, then I guess it is on you. But I thought it looked really great. I wasn't really that into the idea, and I don't really like modern Favreau, but this was like a really well-cut trailer, and everyone I knew who's been kind of like, I'll see Rise of Skywalker because of Star Wars. This looks so good. I'm probably going to sign up for Disney Plus just to watch this. It looks really, really neat. Kind of like the spin-off we probably should have been getting. I think these expanded universe kind of things like Rogue One are more of the stories we want because there's such a rich world there. There's always been a rich world there, and that seems to be expanding upon it in a cool way. And I just love some of the shots, and like with that robot bounty hunter guy, like I-188 or something. Anyway. Obi-Wan. So the Obi-Wan thing I talked about on the last movie crap, that there were rumors and it was sort of confirmed, and then it was like confirmed again or whatever. Here's honestly what I think about this is Disney is trying to mine as much nostalgia as they can. They're like, we have nostalgia checks everywhere and we got to cash this shit. And I get it. And the prequels, what are you really going to cash with that? You're not going to make a Jar Jar Binks show. You're not going to make like a Hayden Christensen being sad in a Darth Vader suit show or whatever. You're not IG-88. Thank you, Sinram. You're not going to get. There's very little people you can get from the prequels that anyone would show up for. And Ewan McGregor, had always been. I think a lot of people have always thought that it kind of derailed a very promising career. That's always been a theory I've heard, and I sort of agree with it. But I think bringing him back is the best way to mine prequel and nostalgia and kind of right a wrong that was all those movies. So I think it's actually a really, really good idea to bring him back. Apparently the scripts are written and it's coming together, and then it'll be a thing. And I think that will be, that'll be a good show. I think with the Mandalorian trailer, I'm excited for more Disney. I'm excited for more Star Wars specific shows. I think that'll be really cool. There was the Noel trailer. Apparently that was made to go to theaters. A lot of this other stuff was made to go to Disney Plus. Noel was not originally, or at least was not developed to be as such. The yogurt pants joke looked funny to me. The rest of it, I don't know. It's clearly going after the Christmas Chronicles audience that Kurt Russell was in for Netflix and realizing how successful that was. They'll do a Christmas movie for this. It'll play really well over Thanksgiving. Again, they're really focusing on that Thanksgiving kind of audience, that holiday audience where you're bored, you have a lot of free time, and you can recommend shit to people. And Noel works perfectly for that, for families. So in a lot of ways, it works really well. Lady and the Tramp trailer, I don't really like these Disney live action remakes. I think they will continue to be bad. This didn't look really that much better, even though it has Tessa Thompson and everything like that. It just, I don't know. It looked fine. It looked better than The Lion King to me, but it didn't look like really that good, but I'll probably see it and we'll review it and all that. So there was one, okay, so there's a couple Disney things, and then we'll finally talk about Spider-Man getting kicked out of the MCU. Apparently that's almost done. But one of the things I thought was really interesting, there's a series called One Day at Disney. And basically what that is it is going to is going to feature a different person who works at Disney in every episode, and they're going to have a long form kind of documentary sort of thing between a long form documentary thing of a bunch of them with Robin Roberts and so forth. And one of them is going to feature Eric Goldberg, who created the Genie, and other animators and so forth. And I think that sounds like a great idea. I think that sounds really cool to me. Because that was when Disney Channel launched. They used to do a lot more stuff like going behind the scenes and showing people who you really wouldn't get a focus on. They did one on matte paintings and a father and son matte painting team duo, one of which did matte paintings for Disney for years and years, and the other who did matte paintings for Star Wars, and they came together to make the matte paintings in Black Hole. And the matte paintings in Black Hole are really good. I'm not joking about that. They're like amazing matte paintings. I actually see Black Hole only for the matte paintings, but a lot of like older animators and older like animation historians loved those little documentaries, and they don't do enough of them, and I think this will actually be a cool thing. It sounds like they're diversifying it and showing like Imagineers and people who work on their crappy Good Morning America or whatever and other things. Pixar, Disney Animation, maybe someone will get lost and do something at Blue Sky. I don't know, but it sounds like it's going to be a diverse amount of talent. But I think that sounds really cool because Disney has a lot of really creative people there. So I know it's going to be propaganda for the company, and I'm not blind to that, but there's a lot of interesting things about movies you can learn from those. So I think that'll be cool. There's a Book of Enchantment series that was going to happen with all the villains, but they felt it was too dark and they couldn't just throw it on Hulu, which is their new touchstone basically, and they just decided not to do it. But apparently it had never been given the green light officially, but it was too dark, and now that's not going to happen. And the final Disney Plus news that I think is the final Disney Plus news is they're going to do a Lizzie McGuire reboot. If you're wondering why would you report something like that, watch more Cletus the Fetus. Sorry, I need Red Bull. It's been a long day. I'm actually home by myself, so I'm always worried that Sophie's gonna like walk out midstream and I'm gonna have to stop streaming midway through. And I'm wondering about that, if that'll happen or not. We'll see. There's always a possibility that will happen. Anyway. All right, so Spider-Man being out of the MCU. I think we do need to talk about that. So let's talk. Okay, so the Jeff Goldblum thing, I'll say this. It sounds like a very Netflixy show. It sounds fine. I'm not honestly that interested in it, so I didn't focus on it too much. But I'm sure people will watch it. It sounds like a show that people would binge. So the thing with Spider-Man and the MCU, this was never like a great deal for Disney, but in other ways it is a great deal for Disney. But Sony definitely needs it. Sony needs this franchise, and Sony's actually had a really good summer between Far From Home and having Quentin Tarantino on their roster, which I think is really good for them. I don't think anyone could have predicted how well they would do this summer, other than the Men in Black International fiasco. They've done really well. But they sort of need Spider-Man to be there. The problem is with Disney was a little greedy. But the other thing with Disney is Disney has always made more off Spider-Man movies than Sony. And before you go, Jim, what about 5%? And that is 5% of first dollar gross. That's like, it doesn't matter if it makes money or not, they get that 5%. They own the merchandising rights. They own the rights to the Spider-Man character. They have the TV rights. Anytime there's a new Spider-Man movie, you always make more on merchandising, which Disney gets all of. That's always been true. And I think they should have recognized that. But on another hand, they're loaning out Kevin Feige for 5%, and he's the biggest executive in Hollywood right now. And I think they would want more than 5%, and I understand that. But it sucks because we're not going to find out what happened on that cliffhanger. It feels like, I think if they can work out the James Gunn thing, a lot of people have said maybe we should give this time. The other thing is that Tom Rothman is a horrible executive. He really doesn't respect superhero properties. He thought it was a fad. He ruined the X-Men franchise when he was at Fox. He is a tough negotiator as well. So he probably, one, screwed this deal up by being sort of a prick. But then it's like, who was more of a prick, Tom Rothman or Disney? That's like, I don't know. They're probably both jerks about it. But this was, here's the thing. It was an unprecedented deal. No one thought it would ever happen. And I think we never thought it would maybe go beyond that. The $1 billion thing, I think, might not have been true, and there's a lot of false reporting on this. But I kind of think what Disney has a few options. One is ignore this because they have enough going on. Two is like figure out a way to get this to work and maybe get Sony to, you know, work on the license so Sony doesn't have to make a Spider-Man movie as frequently, because you have to admit, like, Tom Holland was in a movie he was in a movie as Spider-Man every year from 2016 to this year, which is crazy. Like, you know, and I think that really helped like boost him as Spider-Man clearly, but it was a lot. And I think Marvel usually gives their characters breaks. And I think like they should have worked out a way to do that, because I was surprised they hadn't announced a Spider-Man 3, because it felt like we were getting one every 2 years or 3 years or something. And they were being greedy. But I think like they shouldn't have been greedy, because even with that 5%, some other company is making a movie to advertise Spider-Man and up his profile so people can buy more Spider-Man crap, which they will then make more money off of, and then have Spider-Man at their parks, and they'll be re-excited by him by a movie that now their company has literally nothing to do with, except maybe, I don't think they're even getting the 5%, just the deal is over. And so it's like you don't really need that extra box office. It's more of a Feige thing, it sounds like. They're like, look, we want Feige, and like, well, Feige just, you know, did Endgame and just gave you your highest grossing movie, like, you should pay up, bitch. And, you know, it sucks for a lot of reasons, but I wanted to get to, someone in Patreon had a question, and it helps me talk about other stuff. This is from Scott Green, or Sinram, who has a great YouTube channel. You should check it out, and has been a longtime friend of mine. Says, do you think the anticipated lack of crossover with the MCU will make the next Spider-Man movie less successful? Will people be less interested in seeing it without other MCU characters in it? Do you think the absence of Kevin Feige as a producer will result in a dip in creative quality? Yeah. So first off, I do think it will be less successful, because there is a real thing with the MCU characters where the first movie will do really well. They'll be in an Avengers movie, and then the second one will do extremely well. And there is a real thing about movies, you know, the first movie will do well, and the second one will do even better because of the reception of the last film in the franchise. And Marvel seems to have totally taken that math out by then going like, okay, not only did you like that first one, but then you saw him in an Avengers movie and you like him even more, and it's sort of a sequel to this Avengers thing also. So it like the box office for these things would explode. So without that, Spider-Man is going to be less successful. Now, all of these made like, I think, over $700 million worldwide, the live action ones at least. And so I think there's still a way for this will still do well, but I think people will be less interested. I think this will make less than Homecoming, unless they have a really good creative team, and we don't know who that is. Now, there's been a lot of people have been saying, what about Phil Lord and Chris Miller? I would love to see a Spider-Man movie from them. Obviously, they helped produce Spider-Verse. They signed an exclusive deal recently with Universal. Part of what I think is they're pretty much gone. The Lego franchise is sort of dead in the water. I don't think that's coming back, and I think their involvement in it is sort of done, although I think they're kind of producing other animated things. But I think they're mainly going to move everything over to Universal, who much like Disney have two animation studios, so they have a lot to play with if they want to, and they're very promising. They can go to animation, live action, and have probably full creative control. I think they got like $100 million deal, or whatever figures, that 6 figures, something like that deal that they wanted, or is that 7, 8? I don't know how to count things, but the MCU, so I think if they got Phil Lord and Chris Miller and they hadn't signed an exclusive deal, that would have worked out for them. But Filler and Chris Miller, I don't think can, unless they can get them to break that deal or something, or work out something with Universal. But I don't really have an idea of who would do that. And without Feige or a really promising creative team, with Tom Rothman there, I don't think you're going to get that. And you're going to have Venom fight Spider-Man, and that's going to suck. I mean, there's like no ifs, ands, or buts about that. That is going to suck really bad. There's like nothing about that isn't. Now, the other thing is John Watts is not signed to an exclusive deal. He is not signed on to do those other two Spider-Man movies that Tom Holland is, and he is very much in more of Marvel's and Disney's pocket than Sony, and he is fully expected to leave. I think they're going to have to get a new creative team. So it's basically like, not only did Sony lose the MCU, they lost their entire creative team of two very successful movies in a franchise. That is a huge hit, and the Spider-Man franchise is going to have to recover somehow, and I kind of think we're going to have to wait a while until they get someone. And seriously, they have Avi Arad there, they have Tom Rothman, they have all the worst people, so I don't really expect much. However, they were able to get Tarantino over, which is surprising, so maybe Tom Rothman has found a way to suck less. But as a person, he's awful. I don't like him at all. And I've seen him do public speaking, and I used to read about how he said all these awful things, and then I just saw him do it on TV about like how he, like, his wife's super hot and he sleeps with her all the time. And I'm like, dude, that's weird. Like, I'm watching Fox Movie Channel. Like, I mean, no one's watching but me. And then he just talked to me on the screen, because literally I'm the direct consumer. That would be funny, but he's gross, is what I'm saying. So I will say, there's a couple options I think that will happen to close this out. One is that they will figure this out. Two is that they won't, and everyone's acting like they won't right now, but I kind of feel like everyone's upset because Hollywood Reporter or Variety leaked this, and it all blew up, and everyone thinks Disney leaked it, and then Sony tried to do damage control, and however much of percentage they asked for in the end of negotiations is very up for debate, and all that stuff. The other one, and so there's this one reporter, and he's Jeff Snyder, and he was on Collider Movie Talk, and he has his own podcast. And I know he's kind of a jerk sometimes, but it's an interesting theory that what if Disney just went and bought the license back and paid like $2 to $3 billion to get him back? What would that happen? And the idea behind that, and I think this is the only theory, because they're not going to buy Sony. Even though Sony, everyone thinks it's up for sale now, because everyone's like, ever since Disney bought Fox, everyone's like, oh, this studio is up for sale. But I'm like, these are unprecedented deals. Don't try to like guess unprecedented deals. But it seems like that's the cool thing right now, is to buy studios. And Paramount used to be the one everyone would talk about. And after the Viacom thing, we're not talking about that anymore. We're now talking about Sony should get bought. And Sony is in an interesting position where if Disney gave them $3 billion, which would take them like 20 Spider-Man movies to make that kind of profit. But I'm not going to get into the math of that, but they wouldn't get, like, after like marketing and making the movie and stuff, they're not going to get $3 billion. They've probably never gotten $3 billion from all the Spider-Man movies they've released. So let's say they gave them $3 billion or $2 billion or whatever. If they did that, I think that would bring him back, and then they would have the entire MCU except for like Hulk and Namor, but like, whatever, and like a few scattered characters, but they pretty much have everything they needed. And I don't think I think that's within the realm of possibility. But if that were to happen, the bigger thing is Spider-Verse would be over. Like, we would only have Into the Spider-Verse. All the sequels would be flat out canceled. There is no way Disney's doing that crap. I'm going to be honest with you. They have enough going on. They would just cancel the shit out of that. Remember what happened to Spectacular Spider-Man? So I sort of don't want that to happen on one end, but I do want that to happen on the live action end. But another part of me is like, maybe I don't. So, and I know people are bringing up Spider-Verse like, hey, Spider-Verse worked out, Spider-Man 2 worked out, and I go, yeah, but Spider-Man 3 and those two amazing Spider-Man movies did not. So if they're able to give someone creative control, because Sony kind of worked like Fox used to, where they're like, here's a check, just please make me a movie and leave me alone. When they do that, they work really well. But when they get too involved, which Tom Rothman has the tendency to do, this will suck. And I think it will. So, the other Spider-Man, wow, that was a lot of stuff there. We got a lot of stuff. I might need to take a bathroom break after this next two. So, I wanted to talk about this because it's kind of a bigger story. Spider-Man: Far From Home is going to be re-released in theaters with an extended scene, which is most likely that scene with the cops in the restaurant. I think maybe they announced that or not. On Labor Day weekend, I think it comes out on Thursday, the 29th. Labor Day weekend actually has this tradition that no one really, they don't publicize enough, and they really should, is that if they're going to, since there's not a lot out, summer blockbusters will kind of put themselves back in a bunch of theaters. So if you didn't get to see something like Toy Story 4 or Far From Home would have probably been one of those, but they're kind of like publicizing and putting an extra scene, trying to beat all the other ones. Lion King or Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, I'm sure would be candidates for that. They'll probably put them in 300, 400, 500 more screens. Usually they do that. And they really should talk about that more, because I remember like I wanted to see Inside Out again, and I used that weekend to do it. And I've used that weekend traditionally to see a summer movie I liked again. So if there is a summer movie, like a blockbuster you liked, next weekend is actually a good one. That's a tradition they've held for a while. So they should really talk about it more, and they don't publicize it till like the Thursday before, which sucks. But look into what those are. I'll try to tweet that out, because I think it's actually pretty cool that they do that. But for some reason, Sony's like going like, hey, look at this crazy thing we're doing over Labor Day weekend. I'm kind of like, you're kind of taking an idea that's already established and making it into a special release, but I like it, I guess. Also, that Apocalypse Now thing, I think, is the reason that's out. All right, so let's get into Matrix 4, because that is sort of interesting. So, Movie Craft Live. Who said Movie Craft Live featuring intermission? Thank you. All right, so Matrix 4. What is going on with that? I don't think anyone thought a Matrix 4 would happen, because Matrix 2 and 3 kind of were not great, you know? But I know Warner Brothers has been trying to develop another Matrix movie for a while, including one with Michael B. Jordan, who is may or may not going to be a young Morpheus or Morpheus' son, or depending on which report you read. But basically, this is not going to be the Wachowskis as we had seen them previously. It's going to be Lana only and not Lily Wachowski. Apparently, they did have kind of a falling out creatively. I don't know what happened. I know their kind of studio space had been dismantled in Chicago, or like they decided to stop renting an office space basically, and stop working together, and that's kind of sad. But I know now that Keanu Reeves is like a really hot movie star. Warner Brothers obviously was courting him to bring him back, and Carrie-Anne Moss, who I do not remember Matrix 3. And speaking of Cletus the Fetus, if you want to watch a Choice Cletus the Fetus episode, there's one where Ian and I wrote a rant about the Matrix. If you just type in Cletus the Fetus Matrix. I'm sorry I'm talking about it. It just happens because of Matrix and Lizzie McGuire. It's very 2003 up in here. There's a nice little rant there about the Matrix, which we both read. I think you just search Cletus the Fetus Matrix. But so in that supposedly Carrie-Anne Moss died. Somehow she's back. I don't know exactly how this concept is going to work. I don't remember what happened in the end of Matrix 3, so maybe someone's lying to me on Twitter or something. The other big thing is they're not having the same DP. They're going to have the usual DP for the Wachowskis, which is John Toll, and not have the guy who shot the Matrix movies, who is Bill Pope, who is now Edgar Wright's DP. So most of the creative team is not going to be involved in this, and Bill Pope is a cool DP. He shot Team America, Spider-Man 2, and every Edgar Wright movie since, I think, Hot Fuzz. I know he definitely shot Scott Pilgrim, World's End, Baby Driver. He's a cool DP. Like, I will see a movie just because Bill Pope is involved, and it's extremely disappointing to me that when I heard oh, they have a new cinematographer, and I was just curious because I like the Wachowskis, and then I read, oh, it's not Bill Pope, and I was depressed. So Bill Pope is a really great DP. He's one of the best. He worked with Sam Raimi on Army of Darkness, and Spider-Man 2. Apparently, he works with who he's interested in. He's a weird guy. Like he sought out Team America. He's an interesting guy, and it's sort of disappointing that he's not coming back. For another Matrix movie. So I should go to the bathroom, and I'm going to take a little bit of break, and I made a thing, and I hope it's not too loud. This music, it played at the beginning. I don't know if you heard it, and I'm going to play that, and I should be back in a minute if I do this right. And it's not playing. And wait. There we go. Sorry. All right, I'm digging the lyrics to this hip hop song. Okay. Sorry, you will if Can we hear me? There we go. Okay. Sorry about the sound error there. Okay, sorry, I had to make sure. What the fuck? I just watched the Matrix Crucifix Reloaded. Is not that bad. Sorry. Okay. Let's move on. There is just an ungodly amount of movie news. I probably should have tried to do 2 streams to cover all this stuff this week. Yeah. Anyway, we're still going. Wow, this is a long one. All right, so let's have some Rebel. We will do questions at the end, so don't worry about that. And I have a really good Patreon question that I'm excited about answering. Anyway, so where are we? There we go. Okay, so the Masters of the Universe animated thing that came out kind of Sunday night from Kevin Smith, which is weird. So it's going to be kind of done by the studio who made the Castlevania one, not the studio who's making She-Ra, and doesn't sound like it's going to be connected to She-Ra, and it's going to pick up from where the He-Man series left off. I'm not actually that far in season 3 of She-Ra, although Sophie and I are watching it, and I enjoy watching it with Sophie and I are watching it together, and she seems to enjoy it. But this Masters of the Universe show sounds cool. It's funny, like, I have a Masters of the Universe shirt, not wearing it now, but I have a Masters of the Universe Guns N' Roses shirt I've worn in videos. I grew up with Masters of the Universe. I love it. I saw the Dolph Lundgren movie in theaters. I'm a fan, and I, like most people who were reporting this, were like, I mean, that sounds really cool, but where did that show leave off? Like, no one remembers because we're all little kids. So, I don't know. I do not remember Kevin Smith ever being a fan of He-Man. Like, does anyone remember that? Like, I just do not remember that ever taking place. So if anyone does, I'm like, is there a reference to that in a Kevin Smith movie I'm missing? I know he previously said he's getting to work with a property he never got to work with before, like a huge property. Maybe he's means this, but it sounds like Netflix is double dipping into Eternia, because that's going to be this show. It's going to be more anime influenced by the studio supposedly who made Castlevania. As someone in the chat noted just now, there's going to be a live action movie. It stars the guy from the movie All the Boys whatever from Netflix, but that was supposed to start shooting like a month ago and didn't, so maybe that's not happening. I don't know, but that animated show is happening. I'm excited for that, but I'm curious, since the dimension hopping thing is such a part of She-Ra, could they still connect to this and have different animation styles from different studios? That would be cool. I don't know if it will. And I'm getting the impression that there was no He-Man references or crossover in the new She-Ra, because someone would have mentioned it in one of the reports for this, most certainly. All right. So Hasbro bought Entertainment One. And this story is interesting for like $4 billion. And at first you're like, why did they spend that much on the Peppa Pig studio and PJ Masks? Is that it or whatever? And also apparently Death Row Records, which is a weird portfolio. You're like, oh yeah, Peppa Pig, and they're like, we'll just buy this, and like, wait, I own Gin and Juice now? I mean, if you don't do that mashup, Hasbro, just like that YouTube money is just sitting there. You should take advantage of that. But Peppa Pig is bigger because Peppa Pig has successful attractions in both China and England, and is worth a lot in terms of merchandise, and having that IP is really important. So Hasbro apparently is going to develop like movies and stuff for Paramount and so forth, and since Paramount and Nickelodeon and Nick Jr. and Peppa Pig's on it, nothing's really going to change, but Hasbro now has Peppa Pig and Entertainment One. Which is weird, but I expect some Death Row music in the next Transformers or G.I. Joe. That's what I'm expecting. So the Uncharted movie, this was a bad week for Tom Holland. Like, his agent was like, so I have some more bad news. And he goes, so the Sony deal didn't work out? And he's like, oh, actually I have more bad news? He's like, oh, motherfucker. But the Uncharted movie previously had Dan Trachtenberg, who directed 10 Cloverfield Lane, attached as a director. It's like the fourth director they've lost. He quit. Apparently Sony's PlayStation studio is involved now, and there's more executives that got involved, and then the director left, probably because there's a lot of people, too many cooks in the kitchen, executive-wise, and Avi Arad is involved in this. For real. So it sounds like you would never want to direct this movie ever, even though apparently most of it's storyboarded, so it's not like you'd be doing that much creativity with it. I'm sure they wanted to shoot this soon, so they might announce a director, but it doesn't sound like this is going to be any good. And Tom Holland, I'm so sorry for you, bro. But it just sounds like this movie's a total disaster, like, if it ever happens. Bond 25 had its title announced this week. It was called No Time to Die. Sounds like a classic Bond title to me. Everyone's making jokes about it, that Bond's so busy, he doesn't even have the time to die. Ho! But I do think it's a nice title. I know this Bond movie has had a lot of problems in terms of early press that's usually like slam dunks for Eon, particularly like the press conference, which didn't reveal the title. They revealed it on the day that like the Matrix 4 and then the Spider-Man movie news happened. So it's just like this news just got like totally clobbered, unfortunately. But I like the title No Time to Die. I keep hearing that this film is very inspired by Logan, and that's kind of how Bond movies work. They look at what's successful in other blockbusters and sort of mimic it, and I think that would be a good way to go out with this. We'll see. I'm excited for this Bond movie. I like the idea of a retired Bond working with a female 007 who has a different name. It's not James Bond as a code name. 007 is obviously a position. And I know everyone thinks it's a dumb title, but I don't care. So this is a bit of news that no one talked about, but I want to talk about because I find it very interesting. So Fox, we're kind of in a repertory boom right now in terms of repertory screenings. Basically, there's a lot of people are going to see older movies. Like they're like, I've never seen Space Jam or Speed, or that's one I saw like a couple years ago on my birthday, or like something like that. That's pretty regular, much more regular than it was like 10 years ago. And apparently Disney has been kind of stopping a lot of Fox movies for playing in repertory theaters. Now the only one they're going to I keep seeing a lot of people, James Bond can't die. James Bond obviously won't. The character won't die. It's just the Daniel Craig one. They'll probably reboot it like later. But so basically, every time like a studio theater has a movie that's going to like play at a repertory screening, you call the studio and they send you a print or something like that. And there's a screening recently of Fight Club at a certain studio, at a certain theater, and the Fox said, no, we're not going to send you a print because Disney, despite like all the time in the 80s that they made more money off of their re-releases than their actual new movies. So you think they would get, I have something in my eye, it's annoying, sorry. You think that they would get re-releasing stuff and the economics of that, but apparently they're really going to be cutting back on more commercial theaters playing their older movies, and they're going to let kind of more art houses and like kind of more like charity kind of things play them, but you won't see as many Fox repertory screenings, and that kind of sucks. The only one, and before you note that like there is one repertory thing that is always playing every midnight, every weekend, Rocky Horror Picture Show is not subject to this because they're not stupid, and that thing has made over $100 million and sells out audiences every weekend, and they're just going to let that keep going. Apparently they just are not going to stop that. It just sounds like free money, as is every repertory screening, and I really think Disney needs to get over that because there's a lot of their titles that like aren't very popular, but if they let there be like the Alamo Drafthouse do Black Cauldron or Great Mouse Detective or a lot of more obscure titles, they would sell those theaters out, and they're just like Disney, like I don't know how to tell you, like you are sitting on money basically over like kind of stupidness, or like just like play the Robin Williams Aladdin, have a Fathom events, it would sell out. The Wizard of Oz had sold out screenings on a Sunday. You are giving up money, guys. Like people are into this stuff and they would love to see your old stuff in theaters, and like stopping another studio from doing that is just depressing. I really hate that, and more people should be talking about that. I think it is a big deal. Apple Plus is also coming out in November. If you're like, why is this so late in the show? It's because nobody gives a shit about Apple Plus. They had a good trailer this week with the morning show trailer, which I did think looked cool, actually. But I just don't think anyone's going to do Apple Plus. I think like they need more than the morning show. They need a lot more, and they just don't have it. Apparently, Jon Favreau is talking to Marvel about maybe doing another project. That sounds cool. I would like it, but he sounds busy, and he did The Mandalorian, and at least that trailer looks good, and The Lion King, which was awful, and all that. How much more? Okay, we don't have that much more, and then we can do questions and super chat, but I have 2 Patreon questions first. Robert Rodriguez is going to direct a Netflix superhero movie with the star of Quantico, whose name I really cannot pronounce. I'm sorry. But that Robert Rodriguez is making a movie for Netflix. He sounds perfect for Netflix because he is actually very cheap, and I'm sure they would enjoy that. Even though they don't. They spend way too much on stuff. But I'm curious about that, at least, because that sounds like a cool idea. Just her and him together sounds neat to me. I would like that. Apparently, it is going to get a combined cut. I sort of always thought this would happen with it. I always thought we'd get a combined cut of it. There's even a 4-hour director's cut, even though this movie is really long. I know it's screened for critics, and no one seems to like it all that much and says it's too long. I'm honestly not really that excited to see it. I wasn't a huge fan of the first It, really. I don't know, but I always thought they'd do a combined cut. I don't know if they'll do a Fathom events or something like that, but they are going to be doing a combined cut eventually. All right, so next up is The Invisible Man moves up 2 weeks to avoid Godzilla vs. King Kong, because I guess they assume that'll do well, and that will be coming out on February 28th. The Soderbergh movie that I talked about last week that no one was sure what it was. It's going to be about Meryl Streep kind of on a cruise with her 40-year-old friends. I know this is like hitting you guys in the demo spots right now. But it is going to be a launch title for HBO Max. It sounds really cool and all that. Now, next, kind of some bigger 2 stories and then trailers and then all that stuff. Man, too many things this week. Damn, movie news. Sorry you had to watch me do that. But I need Red Bull to live now. Not the Johnny Depp Invisible Man, by the way. So The Irishman is trying to be released in... Netflix is trying to release the Martin Scorsese's The Irishman in theaters And they're having troubles with AMX and I forget, AMC and another theater chain. And usually there's a sort of 90-day window before going to streaming or going on demand or home entertainment, basically, as the big kind of term is. And it seems to be they need to kind of come to a compromise, because the 90-day window, obviously, like, nothing is making any sort of money, even the biggest releases 90 days after it's released, so it's a little silly. So they should kind of relax on that, but they're talking to them. I'm curious what the Irishman release is going to be. There's not a release date yet. We just know about the New York Film Festival kind of debut, but that's as far as we know right now. But there's a lot of kind of debate on that. I do think Netflix and the theater chains need to come to a compromise. It's kind of best for both of them, for all of our survival. And I don't think theaters are going to go away, just because, like, bars still stick around and you could buy cheaper beer at a supermarket. You go there for something to do. It's a communal experience. That's why people like it. And I think movies fulfill that. So I don't think they're going away, but The Irishman should play in theaters. It's interesting that Scorsese's next film is set up, I think, with Paramount. That's the one with DiCaprio, which sounds interesting. But it sounds like they really need to get this in theaters, because I think they know if they screw this up, they're not going to get people like Scorsese back. So this is like a real thing Netflix needs to work out, but I think for the future of movies, the theaters need to work it out. And it's just like them kind of butting heads over, like, being too stubborn, and they need to come together, like a 45-day window or something. I think there was 2 or 3 weeks before Roma came to Netflix that it was in theaters, and they should try to work out maybe a longer thing, like have it come out beginning of November, have it hit Netflix around Christmas. Perfect time for Oscar voting. It would be great. I think that would be a perfect compromise, and I hope they do it and get around to it. I'm excited for The Irishman, and I probably will see it in theaters, because I see all Martin Scorsese in theaters, and I think that would be great if they work it out, but we'll see about that. That seems to be a bigger thing there. The Joker, I noticed people keep bringing up the Joker thing. I heard about the Joker being R-rated. I think that story was mainly to drum up, keeping more publicity for the Joker. They just want to keep you thinking about the Joker. And Todd Phillips saying, hey, we might make a sequel if it does well enough, which I don't think Joaquin would do a sequel. But it is rated R. I expect it to be rated R. So, I mean, that's what they're going for. They're going for a darker thing. If it wasn't rated R, it wouldn't sell as well. So that's part of the thing. I wanted to talk about this last story and then trailers. And sorry, there's a lot of things. So Blinded by the Light and Where Did You Go, Bernadette opened this past weekend. They both didn't do that well. And this seems to be a common thing. It started with Booksmart, where these bigger kind of art house movies will just go wide immediately, and then they won't do well. And it seems like when you have things like The Farewell, which opened limited and slowly had a rollout and is actually doing pretty well, that still works. I don't know why these studios are going wide with these art house releases that really need like a slow build to them, and this seems to be a perpetual issue. And they keep blaming, like, oh, it's like Marvel's fault, or oh, it's Disney's fault or something. It's not. You just forgot how to release movies like this, and it's disappointing. Like, Yesterday is not the same as Blinded by the Light. That was about the fucking Beatles. Like, get over your damn self. There needs to be a middle ground. There needs to be a way to release smaller movies, and everyone seems to have forgotten about it. And something like Blinded by the Light, if you had let that build, could have like built and like had a decent release, but you just kind of like, those sort of things should not go wide, and everyone in the industry knows it. Everyone knows this is a stupid idea. I think something like whoever runs a marathon, I'm sorry, I forget, but anyway, Brittany runs a marathon, I believe. That is going limited and kind of going wide eventually. I heard that's doing pretty well. And I think, like, go after things like that. Like, let word of mouth spread. I don't care if you have Twitter and social media now. These movies need time to grow. And don't put them out. Like, wide is just not right for Blinded by the Light. Where'd You Go, Bernadette? I know it did better because it appeals to older audiences. But this is a perpetual problem in the movie industry. And, like, they need to stop doing that. And I really hate it. Anyway. Sorry. Okay. Let's move on to... Someone say the Joker says the N-word. Oh my goodness. Alright, so there were a couple trailers. One, Underwater. It's directed by the guy who made Signal, which isn't very good. So I will probably not see this. It's starring Kristen Stewart. It's them underwater. It's a January movie. It's going to be bad. I didn't like The Signal. I forget who directed it, but they weren't good, so I don't expect much for this. Bombshell, which was pretty much a bunch of nice famous actor ladies in an elevator, and it's about Fox News. I don't like it wasn't a trailer. The Report, which stars Adam Driver and is going to be directed by Scott Z. Burns and is produced by Steven Soderbergh, looks really cool. I think it's on Amazon Prime. Check that out. So we're going to do questions. I'm going to do 2 Patreon questions. One is a bit of a longie. If you have super chat questions, I will try to answer them between these first 2, and I will try to answer questions, but let me just do this one. Is from a patron, a longtime patron of mine, called Reanimated Jesus, and I thought this was a cool question, actually. It's a long one. Let me just read it. Before I got into animation, I consumed film all the time and became a major film buff. Anyway, I'm an animation student at an art school. I won't name it. He didn't ask me to, but anyway. I noticed a lot of my peers are only into animation/anime related influences. I rarely see my peers be inspired by other creative influences such as film or music, etc. It gets kind of annoying. Keep in mind, I'm 26, so that probably plays a factor too. Anyway, have you noticed this too, or is this limited to my own personal experience? I hope it's only limited to my personal experience. Keep up the great work and have a great day. Thank you, Reanimated Jesus. So the main reason I wanted to talk about this is I actually have long not liked the idea that animators don't really know that much about live action film. I think some of them do, not in a general sense. And I actually wrote out a whole course called Live Action Film for Animators, where you'd introduce things like Zane Powers, you can ask questions on Twitter, but it's maybe I'll bring up Twitter in a second. Let me just it's a little easier in the chat, but I will get to that. But it was basically to show films that could show to help your animation, whether it be with Raiders of the Lost Ark is a good one and things like that, or even show animation to film students. I think would be helpful as well. However, and I do think people should have a more diverse set of influences, but the thing about this that I used to get mad at other people who are all you care about is this sort of thing. Why don't you watch this? It's really cool. You kind of can't force an artist to be influenced by something. They're just going to be influenced by something. And sometimes you go, your art really needs this, and they might not take that, and there's sadly nothing you can do. And that sucks. But I do think there are a lot of people who, when they're getting their film education, whether it be animation or live action, they're not really being shown this other thing, and they're kind of being told to disregard the other medium. And then you have this whole huge problem where you're not really getting a full experience of filmmaking because you're not being taught those things. And I've always had a problem with that. And we need to kind of reevaluate how film students are learning animation and how animated students are learning live action, because it's a huge problem, and it's them being separated is not really working. And I think it would help both mediums if we were able to learn more things. But you can't control people's influences. You just kind of hope you can get them over to like more of those things, but unfortunately it usually doesn't work. The other question is, and I would like to do that class, live action film for animation. If any school is watching, I would totally dig up that class. I wrote the whole thing one night. It was I'm a boring person. All right, so another one. This is the other Patreon question. Then we'll move on to things, and I'll bring up Twitter. If you want to ask me a question on Twitter, you can. It's a little easier in the chat. And if you would like to do super chat to support me and the show, that would be great. But you can do Patreon as well, and it's $5 and up. Patrons always get on. If you're a lower tier patron, then I will as well. But anyway. But thank you all just for showing up. This has been really cool, and I'm sorry I'm new to this. I'm getting better, and you guys have been super nice to me, and this has been a strenuous show, and it's a longer one. I hope I did everything right. Anyway, so William Ellman asks, okay, out of the lineup, who would you say is the best and worst Italian horror director? Dario Argento, Mario Bava, Lucio Fulci, and Roberto Diodato. I don't know who that is, so I'm going to leave out the last one. I would probably go... Bava's so influential, you got to go Bava first, I think. Argento second, and then Fulci third, I would say. I think Bava you just have to go first, because Wes Anderson likes Bava, even. Bava's huge about that stuff. All right, if you want to ask me a question on Twitter, I don't seem to have one on there, but if you, I'll keep the notifications up It's kind of loading, not the greatest, because obviously I'm using a lot of internet right now. So, Anyway, if anyone has any question, now is the time. Thank you for saying I would be a good film teacher. But anything, super chat, all that stuff, like I said before, be very appreciated. Okay, so I have a question here. With Nickelodeon's success using nostalgia with movies such as Invader Sim, do you think they will make complete series Blu-rays of their shows, be it themselves who do it or Shout Factory? I don't think they will, just because they're probably going to sell them to streaming services, but it is a possibility. But I think they'll probably be more interested in a streaming service than doing a Blu-ray. But I think they should. I think it would be cool. It seems like it seems like everyone's moving away from that. That's not Warner Brothers. Nathaniel Foga asked me, how long were Ian and you roommates? 2004 to 2009. Yeah. Okay, Jim, what are your thoughts on Facebook making TV shows? They've been doing it for a while. I don't... it doesn't seem to be that interesting. To me, I don't think there's anything that's really broken out, but obviously everyone's making content, so that sounds pretty normal. To me, let me see. What are... Okay. Someone loves my Studio Ghibli reviews. That's very nice of you. All right. Will there be a review on the 2009's Jacob Ladder remake? No, not right now. I don't see it, and I haven't seen Jacob's Ladder in a long time, so I don't know if I could really fully the original. Okay, what do you have your comics from your childhood teen years? I do have... Most of my comics were my dad's. He would just buy them and I was allowed to read them and so forth when I lived there. But all my Daniel Clowes 8-Ball and Tick comics are here. I do have them. Can you better explain the Phil Lord Spider-Verse Universal deal? Cashews the Musical. That is a good question. Okay, so basically the Phil Lord and Chris Miller stuff is super confusing. And I actually... That happened before I started Movie Crap, but I would like to go into it. So basically, they're producing other stuff and they're allowed to kind of produce stuff, but their directing is going to only happen at Universal. I think because a lot of those contracts were signed a while before the Universal deal. Everyone's doing these big exclusive deals with the corporation, much like what's happening with Netflix. And you had J.J. Abrams signed a huge deal with Warner Brothers, and Phil Lord and Chris Miller wanted to do one of those as well. And so I think... they're still going to do the Spider-Verse movies from my understanding, and their TV stuff signed, I think, with maybe Fox, I forget, but they're signing exclusive deals with things. It sounds to me like they will sort of develop the Spider-Verse thing, and then they'll probably leave it and do just exclusively with Universal since they're paying them, but we'll see. It depends on, it seems like these deals are tentative towards, if you develop something offensive like Benioff and Weiss did with Confederate, then it's like, you're out. So I don't know how, do they just give them $50 million or it's over time, or I don't know how all that works, but it sounds like they're going more exclusive to Universal, and I don't think you'll see them direct a Spider-Verse movie. Basically, that's kind of the problem with that. Death Rose, hold on. Did you hear about the Rescue Rangers movie from the Lonely Islands guys? Whoa, I didn't hear that. That's a little crazy. I didn't know that. Holy shit. What? Is that true? The Nutshack cartoon is now back on air and now airing here in the States because of Pan? Fucking Pan. God damn it. What did you do to us? Not happy about that. I haven't seen it, so I don't know. Okay, I have some Twitter questions. Did you hear about the new Disney... Okay, not that I have your attention. The Amazon's big on fire. Yes, the Amazon is set on fire, and it's unfortunate. Obviously, I really hope we get more attention to that, and that gets put out soon, I guess. I don't know. I'm sorry. I'm not. I'm a little tired, but I agree. We should be talking about that more, because that is scary. Okay. Zane Powers asks, what media properties were you the happiest once they left the cultural zeitgeist? Okay, Game of Thrones, probably, because I didn't like that. Let's see. Wow. Huh. I didn't really like David E. Kelly during the 90s, so I was kind of happy when that left. I wasn't See, okay, I want to say Twilight, but I'm not like upset with Twilight. I wasn't like, oh, it's the worst movie ever. I was just like, can we just be done with this already? Like the whole thing. Like it was just like I don't want to make fun of it. I never reviewed it for a reason. I'm just like, whatever. Um. Okay, let's go. What does your epic? How goes your epic battle with the schmoes now? Probably not great because I watch Collider and stuff. So. Okay, what's your most hyped Marvel Disney Plus show? Falcon and the Winter Soldier, WandaVision, Loki, Hawkeye, Ms. Marvel, She-Hulk, Moon Knight. Falcon, Winter Soldier right now. Moon Knight, I'd say She-Hulk. Those are kind of the ones. Have you seen The Boys? If so, what do you think? I haven't seen The Boys. I would like to see The Boys. Do I have time? No. I'm kind of watching. I'm watching Evangelion. I've never really watched it before. Nolan's trying to get me to watch it, and I'm slowly working towards it, but I can't really do anything while it's on because I'm very invested in it when it's on, so I never really get to do that. Did we answer everything? I did all the Patreon ones. Death Row song for Peppa Pig confirmed. In a world where we can get Pantera or SpongeBob, why not? What animated shows would you like to see get more experimental with their soundtrack? Joking about Peppa. I would like to see I wouldn't mind like Hilda doing something more interesting. I think Hilda could do it well. I wouldn't mind We Bare Bears getting weirder. I think they could get away with it. Frankly, I don't know. I actually think I am going to maybe do something with Evangelion once I'm finished. We'll see. I think Infinity Train could have used Come On Ride the Train with the Quad City DJs. I think that would have been cool. Did I get everything? Oh, thoughts on Snake Eyes movie casting. Storm Shadow, it seemed fine. I still don't want either of them to talk. I don't want them to talk. I just want a cool martial arts movie. That's what I really want, to be honest with you. Yeah, favorite anime. I guess Studio Ghibli for whatever reason doesn't count, so I guess Akira. I do like Perfect Blue. I do like yeah, I don't know. One Punch Man season 1 was really great. I didn't even see season 2 because everyone shot on it. What is my favorite book? I am not very literary, and I usually just read a lot of film stuff. And probably my favorite books I've read recently were all. I read a lot of Pauline Kael, which you probably noticed behind me. But I really like Confederacy of Dunces. I really like Catcher in the Rye. Those are basic kind of books, I guess. But I did like that was Confederacy of Dunces, maybe the last book I really read. Thoughts on The Mandalorian confirming the Star Wars Christmas special being canon. I thought that was kind of cool that they referenced even that little harpoon thing. I thought that was kind of neat. I'm hoping, I think if they're really smart, release that on Disney Plus, people would freak the fuck out. Like seriously, that is like you're sitting on money there too. Do you think Disney will ever get on the same level as Marvel in film? I think DC's being smart. This was by Next Animation. You're asking a lot of good questions. Cowboy Bebop is probably my favorite anime, Disco Spider. Thank you. I think DC is trying to sorry. Let's get some energy before we sorry. I think DC is trying to be their own thing. I think that's the best for them because I think they could either the Dark thing just nobody liked. They could either just rip off Marvel, which I honestly don't think audiences would mind. But what they're really trying to do is give each one like their individual story and maybe like connect them later, possibly. But with Shazam being sort of its own thing, with Joker being its own thing, with that Harley Quinn movie Birds of Prey, which we don't really hear much about, to be honest with you, that I think I think them kind of doing their own path is the best for DC right now. Hold on. Do you think there's anything that could actually bring Disney down from the media overlord they are now? I think they could. I don't think they'll have a big year like this year. I think this year was crazy, and I don't see that happening for a while. And I don't know if they can replicate, and like they're going to have be successful with original properties, and I think that's going to be the real problem, and I think they'll have years that aren't as good as others, and I don't think 2020 is going to be what they expect it to be. I'm going to be honest with you, even theatrical. Anything you want to see out of superhero movies, I would like to see more voices, to be honest with you. I think they're trying to diversify it, but I would like to see more things. I would like to see some Image movies, Image comics, like from the 90s. I would love to see some of that. I know they're doing a Spawn Blumhouse thing, but I'd like to see more stuff like that. Michael Cera for a live action Spike Spiegel? No. I hope I'm getting everyone. I'm sorry if I'm not. Akiva is doing Rescue Rangers? That sounds interesting. Okay. Oh, I didn't get to talk about Breaking Bad. I'm sorry, because that like broke right before. I'll do Disco Spiders after this one. I think it sounds cool. I liked Breaking Bad. I think it's a cool way to take it, and Aaron Paul really deserves like a really cool break in a while, because like it's not like that Need for Speed movie worked out for him. So I'm excited. Apparently they've already shot it, which, you know, obviously because it's coming out in October. It sounds exciting to me. We don't really know that much. What was it? Disco Spider. Disco Spider, that's a cool name. Jim, what's some of the best cartoons from the golden era? I would say Fleischer Brothers. You should watch Fleischer Brothers. They're awesome. If you don't know enough, watch them. Seriously. Thoughts on the new Watchmen HBO trailers? I thought the Watchmen thing would be like a limited series telling of the original graphic novel. I thought that would be cool, but they like didn't do that. They just like made like this other thing that I'm like, I don't really want a sequel to this, so I'm sort of not into the idea, to be honest with you. If you could greenlight 2 revivals, one being of a sea? What? I don't understand that. I don't know if I would do I don't know if I would greenlight any. I don't know. I kind of like am a little getting sick of so many revivals, to be honest with you. There's certain ones I get excited for, but I know it's lame to say I just want original properties. But I'm a little like, okay, all right. I wouldn't mind a 12-ounce mouse revival. Are we still doing that? Isn't there talk about a live action Cowboy Bebop thing? Yes, there is. I don't know what's going to happen. Thoughts on Sesame Street's 50th anniversary celebrations? I know they named a street Sesame Street in Manhattan, and I'd like to visit it. I haven't been there yet, but I would like to take Sophie there, and I'd like to go there myself and take a picture of it, and I haven't gotten to. And I don't exactly know where it is or if it's still there. Okay, sorry, next animation. If you could greenlight 2 revivals, one being of a CN series and one being of a Nicktoon, which would it be? 2 revivals be of? If it was a CN series, maybe Space Ghost, Nicktoon. I want a Bob Camp Ren and Stimpy without John Kay and show how little he did for the rest of that series. I think that would be good, but I don't think anyone wants Ren and Stimpy. Please review Mr. Bug Goes to Town. More people need to know about that movie. I agree, and I plan to at some point. I did do it in an old review omnibus. If you want to watch that, check out that video. What's a bad movie you want to see remade into something better? Any director you'd pick? That's a tough one. I don't actually know. Man, I can't think of that one. That's like the John Waters theory, like remake bad movies and make them better. I can't think of one off the top of my head, but I definitely have seen some. Would you rather have an Amazing Spider-Man 3 or Fantastic Four 2? Ugh. I don't even know. That's Michael Cera for the live-action Pan Pizza Rebel Taxi film. Is that confirmed? I would love that. Oh my god, I hope that happens. Oh, it's a permanent street sign. It's at 63rd and Broadway. Thank you for that. I'm definitely going to go there now that I know that. Yeah, I think that is everything. I'm going to close this out now. Thank you all for coming. If you'd like to... I got a thumbs down. Lame. I'd like to thank all you guys for showing up. I'm sorry this is a little later. Just life and family and all those things. It was hard to get this to be earlier. I couldn't manage to do it, unfortunately. So sorry about that if it's a little later. I think normally it would be 10 o'clock. If I did a stream. I'm doing kind of spontaneous streams just to get better at streaming. So if you click the notification bell, that should come up for you. I'm going to do maybe a test stream next Friday, I think, as well. The videos I had out this week, I had an Invader Zim video, which I thought was pretty good, I guess. Or Invader Zim, Enter the Florpus. My May 2019 video, that obviously was everything that wasn't MomoCon that took place in that month. There's a shot of an airport in there that's the only shot of Atlanta in that whole video, and a card comes up from MomoCon, so let's be like, that's when MomoCon happened. I'm trying to get those month videos out twice a month because I'm trying to catch up, so there'll only be one of those a month because I'll have caught up, and I'm slowly doing it. June is coming along quite nicely. What was the other thing? Infinity Train review. I actually got retweeted by the creator, which was amazing, and then put on Reddit as well, and people have been really liking that review, and I was really surprised by that reception, which was really amazing. I've only talked to him that one time on Pizza Party, but it made me feel very special about myself that, it seems like the fans of Infinity Train are really liking that one. I'm a little surprised by that, because I'm always worried doing TV series reviews. And then Surf's Up only because I saw Hobbs and Shaw, so that review will be coming out soon, and I didn't get to see a new movie because I was like, oh, there's nothing out, and then I heard that new one, was it Ready or Not, is really good, so maybe I'll try to see that before the end of the summer. I will have reviews of Hobbs and Shaw out next week, as well as other things, as well as the movie review vote winner of the last time, and the movie review vote will be out on Monday. So there'll be some cool things next week. There may or may not be a Pizza Party podcast happening tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern, so you should check out for that. Anyway, I'm not going to say Infinity Train over the Garden Wall, which one's better. There's two different. But anyway, thank you all very much for coming to the stream this week. Sorry there was so much. This went like extra long. I never expected these to go this long, but it was like a crazy week. Maybe if this happens again with a convention, I'll do one on a Thursday night and then do a Saturday night for all the convention stuff. I think that'll break it up a little nicer. But I'm learning. I feel like I've been progressing really well. I think you guys have been like so nice to me, and I really appreciate it. And thank you so much for watching. And I hope this was a cool stream. And we're gonna end this. And I guess now you can watch Pan stream, whatever the fuck he's doing. So thank you all very much for watching, and subscribe if you would like to.